Today, I'm gonna be taking you with us to go to a rescue marketing client photo shoot. Awesome, I love it.
Stuff like that is great.
Yeah. Can you look down the camera while you do that? Hey, make sure you guys can see me, otherwise I can't see you. Now I wanna show you what we're doing to prepare for a photo shoot for one of our clients and what we're packing to bring along with us.
Before we get to the gear, let's go back to the day before. Before every shoot, we have a meeting to discuss the objectives for the shoot requirements, and to create a shot list based on the client's needs. This is the point where you get creative, test out shot ideas, and mentally prepare for the day, because you'll see, when we get to the shoot, there's no time to work on that. Here, we're going back and forth about what types of images would fit the client's vision. We know that these images are for a museum website, so we're looking up similar shots and writing down what would perform well for the target audience. Parents who would be interested in taking their young kids to a museum.
We have about 2 hours before the shoot, so the first thing I did before I got up is I made sure I wore all black. That way I blend in with the environment, because today we're shooting inside a museum at a children's exhibit. Now yesterday, before we closed out the day, we sat down, we made a shot list and planned out some things that we needed for today's shoot. I'm gonna reference the shot list, make sure everything looks good, and then we're gonna head out the door. All right. I added one thing to the shot list, but now that I have it, I can pull that up on my phone and I'll reference that one more time when we get to the venue. That way we know exactly what we're doing. The next step is to pack the car and hit the road. All right, we've just arrived here at the Dolores Cole, The Many Colors of Us exhibit here at the museum. We're gonna take out all our gear, we're gonna set up, we're gonna show you what it takes to get photos on a shoot.
The goals for this shoot are as follows. 1. We need to get photos for the exhibit creators of the kids interacting with the installation. 2. There's a camera crew here today, so we need to get behind the scenes photos of the film crew. And yes, that means my filmer will be filming me taking photos of the film crew filming the kids at the exhibit. And 3. We weren't asked, but good practice says that it would be good to get a couple of photos of the museum exhibit itself without any kids in the shot. Unfortunately, the mic cut out at the beginning, but I'll explain what's going on. We met up with our point of contact for the shoot, and they just let us know that we'll have about a half an hour before the bus with kids arrives, and that when they arrive, we'll only have about 45 minutes with the kids. They also told us that they have no idea what door they'll be entering, so we also need to figure that out in order to make sure we don't miss a shot. That's not a lot of time, and because we don't know, now we have to move all our gear out of the way to make sure it's not in any of our shots. Okay, we got all the gear tucked away and all the cameras set up. Now, we only have about 20 minutes before the kids arrive. We're going to take a walk through the exhibit and take some test shots. This is going to help me dial in my in-camera settings and get familiar with the space itself. I'll be able to see what shots are looking good and what to avoid. Here, I can already tell that I'm going to have to boost my ISO up pretty high to get enough light for the photos. I have an on-camera flash, but you'll see why I won't be able to use that later. I'm also noticing that wide shots aren't going to look great here. The space is too small to get a good wide angle composition, so most of my photos will have to be medium shots and medium close-ups. After we finished up with the interior photos, we found out what entrance the kids were coming in and had about 10 minutes to get situated outside.
All right, the gear we're shooting on today is just one camera, Sony a7 III with a 24-70 f2.8 lens. I've got a flash here. I probably won't use it very much because it's going to interrupt some of the videos that are going on. And then in my pocket here, we have an APS-C lens here, 11-28, but it's going to be cropped in, so it's going to be a little bit more like a, I don't know, 20 to 25 millimeter. We're shooting here with two SD cards, as one is the main, one is the backup. We're shooting in RAW and JPEG just in case, because we want to make sure we have a backup in case any of the RAW files are corrupted. It's a little nerve-wracking because this camera isn't the camera I normally shoot on with this lens. I shoot an A7R2, so this is the A7 III, so I'm kind of working on it as I go. But I'm familiar with the whole Sony line, so it should be good to go. So the interesting issue I'm having here is that when I take a photo, it's not popping up in the display window, as you can see. Let's take a photo. It doesn't pop up afterward, and I have to go here. I'm used to it popping up, so if I have time, I'm going to try and figure that out. If not, I've got all my settings ready to go, and we should be good to shoot. So the situation right now is that the kids' bus is coming a little bit late. We should still have about 45 minutes to take photos of them inside, but we're not too sure where the bus is right now. We're kind of rolling with it. That's what you got to do on a shoot like this. Kind of go with the flow.
After waiting for a little while, the bus arrived and the real shoot got started. A shoot like this can be really tricky, not only because you typically have a few seconds to get a shot, but you also have to make sure you don't get any of the videographer's gear in your photos. And, more importantly, you don't get in their videos. I always like to say that we can Photoshop out a video camera, but a videographer cannot remove a photographer. What I'm doing to work around this is always staying behind the videographer and making sure I look up every 5 to 10 photos to try to judge where he's going to go next. Props to my filmer Kyler here. He had the hardest job, staying out of the way of my camera and the film crew. Sometimes it doesn't always work out. Like this shot that I loved had the cameraman in the background. But Photoshop is a lifesaver. What's going on through my head at this point is really just stay out of the videographer's way. I know there's going to be ample time to get the shots I need inside, so I'm zooming in all the way on my lens and staying back. This also has the added effect of giving the background of the images some nice compression and separating the subject from the background. Notice how the videographer and I are looking up at each other as we walk backwards. This is also a good time for me to focus on getting the behind the scenes shot of the camera crew for their website. At this point, I'm just kind of floating around the room and getting myself acquainted with the surroundings. Here, it's important to pay attention to how each kid is interacting with each activity and always be on the lookout for smiles. In an environment like this, you always have to be ready to snap a shot. Otherwise, you might miss something. I'm also looking to frame my compositions in a way that will showcase the exhibit. Having text in the photo is a great way to add depth. Remember, these photos are for a website, so they need to be equal parts kids having fun and museum exhibit.
And a couple more. And wait 1 second. Awesome, I love it.
Stuff like that is great.
Yeah?
Yeah, feel free.
Okay. Yeah, I was kind of being quiet in the beginning, but
No.
yeah.
It's interactive, man.
Yeah.
Hands on.
Okay. I got a couple cool ones.
No, those are great. Yeah, portraits like that.
At first, I was trying to stay on the conservative side of giving the kids direction, because the film crew was running audio.
Dance in front of the slide.
But after getting the okay to talk to the kids, it was a lot easier to get the shots that I wanted.
Can you guys stand right in front of that mural and give me big smiles? Really big smiles as you look down the camera? Oh yeah, can you scoot super close together? You guys are all friends, right?
The kids were in for around an hour. During that time, we looked for good photos, unique scenes that would highlight the exhibit, and also set up a few photo opportunities. This was one of the staged opportunities. It was challenging because I had to have my back pinned against the wall for these shots. And with very little light and a super wide lens, I ended up not sending a lot of these shots to the client. We tried again to get a group shot in front of the exhibit sign, but the lighting wasn't great. And by the time the videographers were done with their shot, the kids were way too hyper to pose for a photo. But that's fine because we had one last group photo to take outside on the steps of the museum entrance.
Okay, all right, we're gonna try, the quicker we go, the quicker we can get warm again, all right.
The kids were cold and the teachers were ready to go. So it was important for me to give constant direction to the group so we could get the photos we needed as soon as possible.
Big smile, look right here at the camera, say cheese. Yep, all right, say cheese.
Now that the kids left, I'm transitioning fully to getting some behind the scenes photos of the Bitter Jester Studios production company. They're conducting interviews with the museum staff, and my goal is to showcase their professionalism and expertise through these photos. While the film crew sets up indoors for their formal interviews, I decided to go through and grab some more photos of the space. While the crew conducted the interviews, I made sure to keep my camera on silent shutter mode and walked slowly around them so I didn't ruin the shot or distract the interviewee. Oftentimes, when you're shooting outside a studio in an environment like this, you have to be mindful of how you move to make sure you match the tone of your surroundings. As they started to wrap up, we packed up and headed out.
All right, we're heading out. We just finished with the shoot. We're heading back to the office to go process the footage and the photos. Thank you so much to the DuSable Black History Museum and Education Center and to Bitter Jester Studios for having us here for this shoot. We're gonna show you now what it looks like to cull through all these photos and dump all this footage. All right, now that the shoot is done, we have to get these photos into the computer straight away and get to editing. Now that we're back, we take our SD card with all of our raw photos and plug it into our card reader, and we're gonna transfer these over to the drive so we can start editing. So let me go ahead and do that and I'll come back to you. Now that all the files are on the computer, I've imported them into Narrative Select to cull all these photos. This helps me use AI to check the facial features on the image, whether their eyes are open and how in focus it is. And now I have to go through all 826 and select the best, about 100 or so. Now that I've found my favorite 108 images, I've shipped them over to Lightroom where I can edit them. So we're gonna go through, I'm gonna make these look nice and clean, brighten things up a little bit, and then we're gonna get them sent off to the client.
A tip for any photographers out there is to be very selective with your photos that you send your clients. Even though I already chose my selects, I still get rid of photos that I don't like at this stage so the clients only get the best images. Here are just a few images from the shoot today. We sent these out to the client within 4 days of the shoot, and they were super happy with how they turned out.